Our group conducted an analysis on the effects of genocide upon a country and its subsequent effects on the economy. Specifically, we chose to review Rwanda in the 20th century and paid specific note to the mid-1990s when the events of the Rwandan genocide took place. Because of identity politics and intertribal divides, the civil war erupted between the clashing Tutsi and Hutu cultures that lasted over a year and resulted in the death of approximately 800,000 people, according to the United to End Genocide Organization. In order to understand the short and long-term effects of genocide on Rwanda, we followed the economic growth of the country from the mid-20th century onward. Halfway through 1962, Rwanda gained its independence from Belgium, which caused a break from the country's pattern of slow economic growth to a decrease in GDP per capita, represented by a significant shift to the left in the Gapminder graph. This was because of the country's initial struggle to transition from a colony to a fully independent country. The loss of physical capital and natural resources provided by an imperial force meant that the country struggled to remain near the level of prosperity that it once enjoyed. In 1964, the economic union between Rwanda and Burundi was terminated, which was accompanied by the introduction of a new currency, the Rwanda franc. By the end of the 1960s, however, the country regained economic stability and experienced a gradual growth in GDP per capita and life expectancy. Because of factors such as increased population and favorable trade deals within and beyond Africa, 20 years after independence, the average income had increased by 500 ppp, and life expectancy had increased by around 6 years, according to Gapminder.
In 1994, this process of economic growth halted when there was a 100-day period in which the Hutus slaughtered 500,000 to 1 million Tutsis, which has come to be known as the Rwandan genocide. After the Tutsis regained control of the government, an estimated 2 million Hutus were exiled and became refugees. During this period, the economic growth rate decreased by 50% and inflation reached 64%, according to the BBC. On the Gapminder graph, there is a drastic decline in life expectancy, from 46.7 to 13.2 years, coupled with a significant shift to the left in income, from approximately $965 to $509. Many Tutsis and Hutus that were exiled returned after the genocide ended. With their return came an increase in investments, which had helped the country recover. In order to rebuild, the government has implemented several programs and strategies to accelerate economic development. In addition to these relationships, we wish we could see the impact on exports during the 1960s and 1990s. Their main export is coffee, and it would be interesting to see how that was affected during their change in the economy after gaining independence during the genocide.
In the last decade, there has been an increase in income per person, which is negatively correlated with the number of babies per woman. According to the CIA, this decrease in number of babies per woman is due to the government's commitment to family planning, increased use of contraceptives, a downward trend in ideal family size, exposure to social media, and the increase of women's educational attainment. However, Rwanda is one of the most densely populated countries, so there is still a high birth rate, which will make it harder for the government to effectively reduce the poverty rate. By 2020, the Rwandan government hopes to change their economy from an agricultural-based one to a knowledge-based, service-oriented one, according to the World Bank. On the Gapminder graph, there is a downward trend in agriculture versus income. In order to become a middle-income nation by this time, the government has implemented a strategy of 1. Economic transformation, such as the change from agriculture to services. 2. Rural development. 3. Productivity and youth employment. And 4. Accountable governance. Their economic development and poverty reduction strategy hopes to increase the GDP per capita to over $1,000, and according to the World Bank, their real GDP growth averaged 8% per year between 2001 and 2015. On the graph, there begins a steady decline in the percentage of people in extreme poverty, starting in 2000, which is paired with a steady increase in income. The World Bank highlights the importance of the private investment on their economic development. To increase the amount of private investment, however, there needs to be an improvement in infrastructure, access to electricity, and a reduction in the dependence on foreign aid, which keeps the investment rate at about 25% of GDP. It will be interesting to see their growth in the future, especially with the strategies the government is intently focused on.